Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome here to the School of Buddy. Today, my friends, I want to talk about a really unsuspecting limiting belief when it comes to your money. And, we've all experienced it. If you don't know me, I am Bree. I am an intuitive life coach. I help you tap into those uncapped resources, my friend, your intuition, your soul, your magic, so we can actually spend your money, your time, and your energy in a way that serves you. And I have felt called recently to just come on here and shoot some videos, friends, and they're going to be lo-fi. They're not going to be super fancy. We're not doing an intro, outro. We're just going to be talking. So today, it is about a limiting belief that is really unsuspecting. And it's going to sound a little wacky when I first say it, but let me tell you, I have been really in this limiting belief here over the last couple of years. When you are fixated on a budget, when you are fixated on your retirement and things in your money in your life just don't seem to be going well, and you feel like you don't ever have enough money and you're living paycheck to paycheck, our first instinct is to actually think, well, this is about the money. And if you follow me on any of my other channels, you know I always say it's not about the money. And that, my friend, is the actual limiting belief. You believe that you are broke, that you're not wealthy, that you're living paycheck to paycheck. You believe that it is about the money. Now, before you go all ham and get all riled up, of course, money provides us a lot of ease and it provides us a lot of safety and security and pleasures in our lives. And we have to call out the fact that there are systems in place in our world that create a lot of inequities when it comes to wealth, when it comes to money, time, and energy, right? And so, of course, an element is how you spend your money, but we have to think about what is actually beneath spending the money. And it is how we're spending our time and our energy. It is if we're in alignment or if we're not in alignment. The reason why I want to talk to you about this is, I'm talking a little bit more about my last 3 years of my life where I have gone through divorce and started dating again in my early 40s, living by myself for the first time. And as I was going through this divorce, one of the things that I was sure about, that I knew I wasn't going to have to worry about, was my money. That was a thing I was really good at managing. And let me tell you, that universe delivered a lot of lessons to me over these last 3 years. And that resource, that money, started to dwindle. And so I actually had to go through this process of experiencing, again, this has happened before in my life, but very different when you're not in your 20s and, you are in your 40s and you left a partnership and a marriage and your net worth looks different and everything in your life looks different. And you've had to let go of some niceties and things that you were used to in order to be in this new space in your new life. And I started to learn really quickly just how attached I was to a specific number in my bank, because that number in my bank to me equaled I'm safe and I'm secure and I'm okay. And as that number started to go down, and it went down for a lot of reasons, and I'll do more videos about these, but some of the main reasons were my business started to shift in general after 2020, and I was experiencing depression that I didn't actually realize was depression until this year. And that depression impacted my money in a lot of ways. I'll do some videos on that. And it certainly impacted how I showed up in my business. And so as I started to experience different revenue in my business, I had to tap into this money resource that I had in order to simply live my life. And So it wasn't this space of living YOLO. I certainly did some nice things for myself. But I had a lot of shame wrapped up in that. I had a lot of judgment for myself that I was going through this period of time and I had to use this chunk of money that I had and was kind of my lifeline that was going to be the thing that got me back on track, like buying another property and feeling like I had some of these assets that I used to have. And this period of time really took me through these lessons of number one, understanding this really wasn't about a money lesson for me. This was about, what do you tap into when the money is gone, when your time and energy is gone? Like, where do you turn to when your resources that you are used to having aren't there anymore like they used to be? And so, I feel like when we have this limiting belief that, all of our struggles around our money are actually about the money, it puts us in this place of, it disempowers us. It doesn't give us, it doesn't put us in this driver's seat to actually take action to change things. And the reality is when you are spending money, you are making decisions about your time and energy at the same time. And if we go a layer deeper, you are either spending those resources in alignment with what is your sole purpose, what you're supposed to be doing, or you are out of alignment. And so much of the work that I do when students come into my containers is we are actually going back to this space where you can listen and hear and know what your intuition sounds like. Because so many of us just live in this autopilot world, and we are making decisions about our lives, and we're also making judgment about our lives based on what everyone else around us is doing, based on the timing that they're doing it in. And what many of us don't actually do is pause and say, wait a minute, do I actually want that? Is that something I actually desire in my life? Do I actually want to get married? Do I really want to buy a house? Does that serve the kind of life I live? Do I actually want to have kids? Do I want to climb this ladder? Or am I happy where I am in my business? Like, I realized pretty hardcore as I was going through divorce, I thought I was living in this space where I didn't really judge my timing, and I didn't judge myself for the decisions I was making. But the reality was I was kind of still living my life, although a little bit different. It still kind of looked like the quote unquote norm. And it became very clear that that was not an alignment for me, that just didn't work for me. And as I was going through this period, I went through this space of starting to become obsessed with the money, obsessed with my sales, obsessed with my budget, obsessed with what was in my retirement, obsessed that I didn't own a house. And, there's a fine edge with that. Like, yes, we want to spend time and energy on those things. We want to have a relationship with those things and, not be in avoidance. But really, all that was doing was keeping me from looking at some of the bigger things. Like, how was I attaching my self-worth to the number I had in my bank account? How was I attaching my self-worth to the fact that I went through a divorce that I didn't think I would do? How was I attaching my self-worth that I had to admit to myself that I was depressed and I needed to get help? There were so many deeper lessons that I needed to face. And I just kind of prolonged my healing because I just kept making it about the money. I kept trying to put my focus on the business or my spending. And yes, all of those things matter. But what will really set you free, dear soul, is if you are brave enough to actually lean in, to investigate some of these attachments we have. We tie so many things to our money. We tie so many things to what success is, quote unquote success. And many of us haven't actually paused enough to, like I said earlier, hear your intuition or know what it sounds like, but to actually question if those are things that we want. And the hard part about all of this is when you choose to actually lean in and start to go on this journey, it is hard. And yes, we can find ease in it. But as, one of my collaborators said to me, we have to endure. When we are going through this space of healing our money wounds, healing wounds from our childhood, trying to shift our lives, make our lives better, step into alignment, we have to endure a lot of discomfort. And what has been so powerful for me is to ask myself if I want to step into some new discomfort or if I want to just sit in the discomfort that I'm already feeling. Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you're stressed out about your money, if you are obsessed about your budgeting, like if money doesn't feel flowy to you, if it becomes just this obsessive thing for you, the reality is you are already in discomfort. And so we have to ask, is that discomfort worth it? Or do I want to step into this place and move through some discomfort that I'm not sure what it's going to be like in order to get back into alignment, in order to actually be living and breathing in a space that feels easy and flowy and is full of joy? Will I be happy if I stay here and I'm in the same space in 3 months, 6 months to a year? And, these things I'm saying are not rocket science. They're not new, but sometimes we need a different person to say them. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a call with one of my coaches where they are giving me some of the nuggets that I actually give to my coaching clients. And we all need someone to say something in a different way, say it multiple times in order for us to hear it. And so this is the call and the question is, do you have a belief that all of your money problems are because of your money? And if you do, can you be brave enough to start asking yourself some deeper questions? And yes, you might have to face some things that you don't want to face. Trust me, I thought that, I had unwound all of my self-worth with my money. It's one of the first things you have to do when you start changing your relationship with money is you start to realize just how intertwined those are. And, you especially do that when you're unpacking your money stories from your childhood and figuring out all of that. You understand some of the subconscious and the neuroscience behind it as to why you're behaving the way you're behaving as an adult. And so, I do that work every day for myself. I do it with my clients. And I had this, thought that I had already checked that box, which y'all know in this game called life, feeling like you have checked a box, unless it is like visiting a wonder of the world, when it comes to self-development and growth and staying in alignment and living in your soul's purpose, that work is never done. And at the same time, I'm using the word work, there gets to be so much joy in it. And I think what is really profound when you have been in a rock bottom, and I would say that is where I have been, you actually start to feel the power of satisfaction in your joy in your life that is not associated with a number in your bank account or your net worth or what your credit score looks like. There comes a moment when you are in a rock bottom when maybe you have lost your job, maybe your job isn't doing as well, and your income is not what it used to be. Maybe there is a moment where you are starting to gain debt again on your credit cards. Maybe it's a moment where you can't actually pay the credit cards and you have to kind of start letting go of all of these metrics that we use in our society that are telling you that you are doing it right, quote unquote, right. And that's scary, y'all. It feels scary. But we have to put ourselves in this like reality moment of like, okay, what can I do? Where am I right now? What is the reality of the situation? And I can continue to take steps to move myself in a different direction to achieve these things that I want to achieve. And at the same time, I can do that while embodying some joy. And the one last thing I will say before I close this out is, I'll do more videos on this one because this has been a really powerful one for me. If you are in a rock bottom and, you have been kind of chasing this happiness or trying to feel joy every day and it feels like it's landing flat. And I get it because in this depression I've navigated that I'm on the other side of now, but it was dark. Everything that used to bring me joy and bring me happiness, I didn't care about anymore. And that's really discombobulating when that happens because, then that's when the thoughts start to creep in of like, what's the point of all this? One of the things that was so powerful for me to change my life, to help me kind of, tow truck myself out of the mud, is asking myself, what is one tiny action I can take today that would feel satisfying? Satisfaction. So not chasing happiness, but looking to feel satisfied at the end of the day. And it doesn't have to be big, y'all. It could be, if you're in a rock bottom, that it was like you got showered and you dressed and you went for a walk, or that you actually made yourself dinner. It could be the smallest tiny thing. But if you are looking for satisfaction and that is the goal, it is going to change how you start to look for the tiny actions. And just by the nature of it, you are going to start doing things that are naturally going to move you forward towards this life that you want, towards actually leaning into these things you've been avoiding that is actually going to change everything. Because you are starting to tap into something deeper than your money, your time, and your energy. And my friend, that is the magic. I'll see you soon.